Hello my fellow hunters and welcome to Monster Hunter Moth episode 94. This video is a lot different than the previous Best Raw vs Elemental Switch-X video, considering it includes the amped up time. If you didn't know what's amped up time, please make sure to check out Monster Hunter Moth episode 89 and Monster Hunter Moth episode 90. I would say episode 90 is a lot more interesting than 81, but you have to watch the episode 89 to understand episode 90 a little bit better. So I recommend to watch these videos first, or if you didn't want to spend half an hour, I recommend to check out my spreadsheet and then go to the Power Prolonger tab. And in this tab you will see all the explanations which I figure out in cooperation with a lot of other theory crafters and analyzing more than 200 runs, which took several hundred hours to get all these values. And in general, the amped up time says how much is the DPS influence of Power Prolonger, and especially it's very easy to see, especially in this table here, that for example if you have a power phial, this phial is strong but it has a pretty bad amped up time, and if you're using, for example, let's say Power Prolonger level 0, you will lose like 48% of this maximum potential of the weapon, which is a lot. And as you can see here, also the influence of the different file types, DPS increase of when you use Power Prolonger on different files. So I just gonna let that open to understand you everything a little bit better. All calculations for using the same armor set, which is this one, 4-piece core, and the chest is from shia. You can see also the skills here. So what changed from the last set, we are now having 4-piece core instead of only 2 because of the maximum might buff. Weakness exploit is now at level 0 instead of 3 or how it was before. Maximum might didn't change. Agitator level 3. Forgot to change the uptime to 75%, sorry. Burst level 1, antivirus level 3 increased to 75% as well for the better 4-piece set now. Counter-strike 100% at level 3, and also, which is also new, which is coalescence level 1 at 75%. Also comfort skills are a weight window level 3 and a weight extender 2. So you can check out this video, it is Monster Hunter Moth episode 93, in which I am explaining you the best possible decorations you can use for your armor set and the best possible armor set or meta set currently for the Switch-X. So much about the set. Let's go back to the Power Prolonger tab. I don't know which one. Yeah, okay, I think I'm going to use this one here. So if you're not interested in the amped up time, you can just have a look at the spreadsheet and just sort here via the amped DPS. In this case, everything will change and all the power files will go up. But as you can see here, I added an additional tab which is called % of your amped state. And you're like, if you're using, even if you're using 3 levels of Power Prolonger, you will like only 65% of the hunt in the amped state. And if you're not in the amped state, you will have like roundabout half of the DPS as you're in the amped state, because if you're not amped, you will lose the access to the full release slash, which means you will lose a bunch of DPS, even heavier. In the previous game the difference wasn't too high, but in this case you will lose access to the strongest move, so it's very important to stay amped in this case. And that's why this table is a lot different than the previous one, you know. As reference, you can see here I've used the meta para X. Here you can see the optimal deco combinations with uptime, DPS including uptime. Let's say in this case. I think it would make it a little bit easier. Yes, DPS including uptime. In this case, you can see here that also the elemental phials are pretty competitive to the power phials in this case, because if you're using level 3 power prolonger, you will have 15% higher uptime, which is crazy. That means in 15% of your hunting time, you're doing double the DPS of a power phial, which is crazy. That's why elemental phials are pretty competitive if you include damned uptime. Yeah, so first of all, I didn't include the Blast Switch X morph because Blast is a bit complicated, because every monster has a different resistance and build up to Blast, which means you have to calculate it separately for every monster to get a decent, reliable value for the calculation. So I just included the para without the para procs. I personally would recommend, if you're hunting solo, go for Blast. If you're hunting multiplayer, go for para, because it will make you DPS window 4 times up. Yeah, better DPS window, because also all the other players yes, have access of this DPS window, so you will do 4 times more damage and will benefit a lot more of it. And also all the others benefit of it. If you're doing just a multiplayer Blast, the other players didn't really have a benefit of this. Yeah, so that's why I just choose para Switch X as reference. Most of the weapons here are using maxed out power prolonger because it's pretty important to increase your DPS and get access to the skill, to the move. Like you can see here, I also included shia as like raw Switch X, which is in this case stronger as the meta para Switch X. But if you include the blast damage or so, I think it will still overtake this shia as raw Switch X. Yeah, so it starts with the most obvious things. If you're going for Dragon Element, shia Switch X is by far the strongest one. It has like almost 6% DPS more than the meta para Switch X. If you don't know what's the best reinforcements, I recommend you just go to my reinforcement tab, and then you can see the optimal decos you can use on this, or the optimal rolls you can use on this X. Yeah, so it's also stronger than the ARTIAN elemental Switch X's. So in general, I would say maybe all the ARTIAN elemental Switch X's are maybe can be stronger than the meta para Switch X, because a lot of speedrunners are also using the ARTIAN elemental Switch X's. But the problem is to get access to that specific decos, which will take a lot of time, and also to the rolls. So maybe it is not worth it for the time investment you have to make for it. Because, like I've shown you in my last video, you can get up to 720 element if you're using the ARTIAN elemental Switch X, which is ridiculous. Yes, in this case, like you can see, 2.6% more DPS than meta para Switch X, and also stronger than all the other elements excluding Dragon Element. So to make it very short, you can just say, if the monster has Dragon weakness, go for shia, and for the rest of the elements, just go with the ARTIAN elemental Switch X's. Yeah, so I also included shia raw Switch X, which we can't really say whether it's better in comparison to the meta para Switch X. About the new mizutsune Switch X, I think meta ARTIAN Blast is better because difference only 0.77%. I think the Blast procs will overtake that 0.8% DPS for sure. Yes. But yes, if you want to go for water weakness, mizutsune is currently the best one with 100. Yeah, if you want to go for water, mizutsune is currently the best one with 157.6 DPS including uptime. Also, you can see Hirabami and for ice and Rathalos for fire. For the other elements, the Rathalos here is pretty bad because of the only 65% amp uptime. You have critical boost 5 on this weapon, but yes. So you maybe wonder why Hirabami is better than Rathalos, and yes, it's also because of the amp uptime. Like you can see here, if you're 15% of the time less amped, but if you go for only amped DPS, you can see that Rathalos is still one of the strongest switch X of all compared to the other ones as well. Yeah, so let's continue with the comparison. Shuvu switch X compared to mizutsune. It's like 5 DPS less, so I didn't really recommend to go for Shuvu anymore. I also included Guardian Rathalos with a 72% and uptime, which is also like 3 DPS less than the Rathalos switch X. And for Thunder, it is currently the worst element of all. I'm not sure whether it is worth it to use Thunder switch X in general if you didn't have access to the ARTIAN elemental switch X. So if the monster has a Thunder weakness, I think it's not really worth it at all to use any Fulgor and Engineer switch X. In this case, just go for Raw Blast or Raw Para or ARTIAN elemental switch X, but not the Fulgor Engineer switch X, because you didn't have any crit boost on this weapon. You only need all the handicraft to get a white sharpness, and that's it. You didn't even be able to squeeze an elemental attack. So yeah, just to make it a short summary, best switch X for Dragon weakness to shia. If you have access to the ARTIAN elemental switch X's, I recommend to use these ones. If you didn't have the time investment or so who craft the ARTIAN elemental switch X's, I recommend for fire weakness Rathalos, for water weakness mizutsune, for ice weakness Hirabami, or maybe ARTIAN is better in this case because ice isn't too good. For thunder, just go for a raw switch X. It's not really useful to go for the element weakness if you didn't have ARTIAN. Yes, and that's it. So I hope this video wasn't too complicated. And yeah, so you can write in the comments if you like that I included the skill, which no other theory crafter did in this case. That's why I made a version of this. Or if you're just more interested in the full DPS. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. See you next time.